Dear audience, here we go. We prolong our marathon. You may notice that I'm truly fascinated. I'm truly, sincerely fascinated with every guest we have here. And I may say that I knew them far before we met here in this studio. Right now, let me introduce my good friend, I may say now old friend, and I'm really glad to meet him here during anniversary, Remus.
Thank you very much for the invitation. I'm honored to be here. And yes, when you come to Ukraine, you can make friends very fast.
It sounds amazing. Like, I want to start with one thing. Let's start with your, not regular work. Of course, we will talk about it. But let's talk about your ambulance. The ambulance you provide to mobile, very special hospital.
I have to say that it was a donation. It was a donation of Taiwan.
Taiwan?
Yeah, the money came from Taiwan. And they came to Romania, and they were managed by the lawyers, the association, the National Association of the Lawyers. And they decided to send these ambulances to 3 cities in Ukraine. But because I had a lot of friends in Kharkiv and I have friends in this association of lawyers, I asked them, look, of course, these ambulances are needed everywhere, and it's understandable. But I know very well the situation in Kharkiv region. Let's try to help people there, and I found out that there is a mobile hospital that treated a lot of wounded people on the front. And let's decide to send one of them to these people, to this mobile hospital. And the other 2 were also sent to Chernivtsi region and Transcarpathia region. But I succeeded to convince one of them to be sent to this mobile hospital. And of course, I know that it's needed to have 100 ambulances or maybe more. And any humanitarian aid is very precious, is very important. And of course, as a journalist, I tried to cover a lot of stories in order to convince people that it's needed to help Ukraine. Because it's needed not only for Ukraine, but also for some values, for some principles that we share in the democratic countries. Of course, when we live in peace, some values maybe for some people are not so important because they think that, it's something natural, it's something by default. But no, for every value we have to fight. And when we look at the history, the values were conquered somehow. They were not given to us by a generosity of the tyrants.
True.
It's the opposite. We had, through history, to fight against tyranny in any way, in any form. And yes, Ukraine now is fighting for freedom, for democracy, against this aggression of Putin, who is a tyrant. Maybe he's the worst tyrant in these times in the world. Maybe worse than Kim Jong-un or other tyrants.
Do you remember when previously Western Europe called Russian policy as a limited democracy? Do you remember that? So right now it's tyranny, as you said.
Yeah, it is a tyranny because he suppressed any critical voices inside Russia, because there were some Russians who opposed to this war. And we have to appreciate this. There were some courageous Russians who opposed to this war. But he arrested them, he beaten them, prosecuted them. And of course, we know also the situation of the opposition political leaders in Russia who were also killed. Or they are in jail, some of them, or they had to leave Russia. So it is a tyranny. Putin is a tyrant, and yeah, Ukraine was attacked because Ukraine said, look, we want to go to the values of EU, of the European countries, of the democratic European countries. Of course, we also in democracies have our problems, have our, let's say, frustrations. Maybe sometimes we disagree with the governments, but we have democratic and non-violent tools to replace the governments that we dislike. We have non-violent democratic tools to solve our problems, to fight for some causes, to promote some ideas, some reforms, anything we want. And we have freedoms and liberties to do what we want to do in a free country. And Ukraine said, we want to do the same. We want to become a stronger and stronger democracy. We want to go to a path to democracy. But Russia was very against this, because for a tyrant like Putin, a democratic Ukraine is even a threat on Russia. For Russia, because the Russians will see, look, Ukrainians can live in a democracy, we want also democracy. We
Successful.
We don't want an eternal leader who will be kind of a Stalin of 21st century.
Remus, sorry,
Yeah.
let's talk a little bit about what's happened to you here. And tell us, please, what you brought.
Let me show you some magazines. These are NEWSWEEK Romania.
I'll help you.
Yeah, NEWSWEEK Romania. This is the last one. And on the cover of it, it's written, a tribunal for Putin. A tribunal for Putin. And it's related with the interview that I did with Alexandra Romantsova, who is the executive director of an NGO called Center for Civil Liberties in Ukraine. They were awarded with Nobel Award in 2022 for peace, along with other two NGOs, one from Belarus, another tyranny, and Russia. And this interview was very important. This is the last, it was published, let's say, 2 weeks ago.
Okay.
It's new. But I have also other magazines. This is from September, with a lot of articles. Maybe you recognize this guy, and some other journalists from Ukraine and US. And I've published almost 80 articles online, and most of them were also published on paper. This is from,
during the year of full-scale invasion.
Yes, in the last, since let's say June, I've been to Ukraine for almost 100 days. In 2 days there will be 100, and yeah, I've published already almost 80 articles, and I have a lot of other interviews that I have to edit. Because when the war started, this is from Kyiv, yeah, the parade of the destroyed Russian tanks in Kyiv. It was a very smart idea to display them on streets in Maidan Square.
Very special parade.
In August, yes, near the Independence Day, Ukrainian Independence Day. And of course, I have many other articles in other NEWSWEEK magazine. And more will come, more will follow.
Thank you very much.
In the first days of the war, I was involved in some protests against Russia. Against the, I've been to the embassy of Ukraine in Bucharest.
In Bucharest,
in Bucharest, and there were some people who gathered there to express their solidarity to Ukraine. And I was involved in this. I even organized 2 protests like this. Then I've been to the border as a volunteer because I saw these waves of refugees from Ukraine. And for a while I've been to the border, and the border was on Danube Delta. And I looked at the Ukrainian side. And I thought, look, it's not enough. It's important what I'm doing here, but it's not enough. I have to go there. I have to go to Ukraine. And in April, I decided to go to Ukraine. I had to prepare a bit my visit. I had to become a journalist because I'm not a journalist. I'm not.
Tell us a little bit about your position
what I did before. For a while, I worked for more than 12 years in civil society. I was a founder of some NGOs. I fought for human rights, for democracy, and for open society values, let's say. Then I decided to join politics. I was the advisor of the Romanian Prime Minister in 2012. And then at the end of 2012, I was elected as a member of the parliament for 4 years. So I have some political experience also. And I was involved in many other projects, educational projects, civil society projects. But when this tragedy started, this huge tragedy started in Ukraine, I felt that it's important to do something, And yeah.
You know, Remus, from the very beginning, you made a very serious statement about friendship.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, easy to make friends in Ukraine. Let's talk about first volunteer mobile hospital. How did you meet the chief of mobile hospital, Gennady Druzenko? How did it happen?
Yeah, it was an honor for me to meet him. I met him in near Kyiv, where they have the offices, the main offices. But it was your proposal. It was you proposed. I asked.
Dmitro said it.
Dmitro, yeah. Yes. It's an environment.
Exactly.
Here. It's yeah.
Theory of a few handshakes.
Yeah, and when I asked, look, what should I do? Maybe I should do more. Maybe I will contribute. Maybe I will convince some donors to do something. And Dmitro told me, look, I know a hospital, they do great things. Let's try to help them. And it was a process. And in August, I spoke on WhatsApp. And then in September, the donation was confirmed. And then there were some procedures. And in November, I think, the ambulance was delivered.
Tell me, please.
November, December.
As far as I know, it was brand new ambulance.
Brand new ambulance, of course, so and fully equipped. Yeah.
The most important thing that
and there were three. Yeah, three of them, but one of them to Chernivtsi, one of them to Transcarpathia, one of them to the mobile hospital.
Well done, sir.
Yeah.
Usually, we heard stories from, donations from Poland, Estonia, Lithuania, Slovakia, Czech Republic, many of them, but not so much from Romania. What's going on there?
In Romania, there are ordinary people that were very involved in helping refugees. And there were many donations, maybe not so famous, let's say, but there were some amazing campaigns. For instance, I know a journalist, Radu Hosu, who succeeded to get some donations, around $500,000 euros. And he provided to military a lot of cars, a lot of other facilities, and he's now very well prized in Romania, and he's a friend of mine, and I congratulate him again, Radu Hosu. He's been here in Ukraine on the front line for several months. And there are other initiatives.
Another brave journalist.
Yeah, and there are other initiatives, and it's important, and I congratulate every Romanian journalist who came here to Ukraine to report what's going on. And I hope that someday, this is one of my main goals, let me confess you this, I hope that someday, because in Romania there is also, let me be sincere, there is also some pro-Russian propaganda.
Of course.
And we have to face it, and we have to fight with it, against it. And that's why it's important to have Romanian journalists here, writing about stories and about truth and about what's happening here for real. And it would be very, very important to have someday, maybe as soon as possible, and I understand that there is a short time, there are a lot of other very tough problems to solve, but it would be very important to have an interview with the president of Ukraine for the Romanian media. Maybe someday he will be able to invite some TV channels and other war correspondents, Romanian war correspondents.
Especially for Romanians.
Especially for Romanians, because Romania should be a strong ally to Ukraine. In the same time, I see this on the social media, in the classical media. There are many voices who don't say Putin is good, but they find and they create some fake news and some conspiracy theories and other manipulation.
Hybrid war.
Yeah. And
that's why we need Romania. I beg your pardon, Remus. It was really incredible.
Yeah, we have to stop here. I know we have just 10 seconds or 15 seconds. Yeah, it was a pleasure to talk to you, and all of the Romanians, all of the people who share these democratic values should support Ukraine.